Hey everybody, welcome back to WireDogSec. Got another video for you guys. Before we get into it, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, comment below. Helps out the channel, helps get that good word out there. And thank you for joining me today. Hopefully you're all having an awesome day. Got an article here from Bleeping Computer. Ransomware profits dropped 40% in 2022 as victims refused to pay. That's a good thing. I mean, when do you ever see news like this? Usually it's the opposite. Ransomware operators are making tons of money off of the victims. But let's get into the article. Ransomware gangs extorted victims about 456.8 million throughout 2022, a drop of roughly 40% from the record-breaking 765 million recorded in the previous 2 years, according to data from blockchain analytics company Chain Analysis. And it gives you a little fancy chart here with that information, that overview. And you can see there's a drastic increase from 2019 to 2020, probably due to the pandemic and the work from home initiative that went on, and it stayed steady throughout 2021, and then you can see that drastic drop here in 2022. Maybe these companies are starting to realize, like, hey, you know what, even if we do pay the ransom, we're still going to get screwed in the end, so maybe we shouldn't pay the ransomware or the ransom after all. 2022 was one of the most active years in ransomware activity, with thousands of file encrypting malware strains targeting organizations of all sizes. However, like due to diminishing profits, among other reasons, the average ransomware lifespan dropped from 153 days in 2021 to just 70 days in 2022. Another fancy chart here showing that drastic decrease in that information. Let's see here. Continuing on, the year was marked by the end of the Conti operation and the emergence of new ransomware as a service activities like Royal Play and Black Basta. If you don't know what those are, or you don't know what ransomware as a service is, be sure to do some Googling, do your own research, and get educated on that information, because more than likely that type of activity will continue on from years to come. Meanwhile, operators like Lockbit, Hive, Cuba, Black Cat, and Ragnar Ransomware maintain a relatively steady flow of victims throughout 2022. Another chart here with more fancy colors explaining that information. If you don't know what these ransomware operators are or strains, be sure to look into that yourself and get that information in your head, because maybe your organization will become a victim of this, and in turn you'll need to know how to respond to that incident. Let's see here. Victims won't pay. Despite multiple extortion tactics employed by ransomware operators, file encryption, DDoS attacks, threats to leak stolen data, or to inform data protection authorities of a breach, a growing number of victims refuse to meet the threat actors' demands, and that's absolutely true. Ransomware operators tend to evolve their tactics over time. I mean, you got the double extortion where they're going into your organization and they're exfiltrating that data beforehand, and then they're actually hitting you with the ransomware encryption process afterwards, so they can have that leverage. So, hey, you're not going to pay up? Well, guess what? We're going to release this information on the dark web and sell it for profit. So we're going to get paid either way. Cyber intelligence firm Coveware says that there's an identifiable trend since 2019 in the stats showing that victim paying rates are constantly dropping. In 2019, 76% of ransomware victims chose to pay the ransom, while only 24% dealt with the consequences instead. The trend changed in 2022 as 59% of victims chose not to pay the ransom. It's got another chart there explaining that information, and you can see that drastic change and people, organizations not paying. So that's some good news right there. The past year marked a significant psychological turning point for both attackers and defenders. 2022 was the first year when more ransomware victims decided not to pay. The shift in behavior highlights a change in perception and approach toward handling ransomware attacks. And it's got the stuff listed out there, attributions. Victims realize that paying the ransom does not guarantee they get their files back, and that the threat actors will delete the stolen files, and that's absolutely true. Even if they do manage to get that decryptor, a lot of times the files won't be decrypted right, and the information or data ends up getting corrupted, so it's useless. The public perception of ransomware attacks has matured. Data leaks resulting from these incidents tend to have an attenuated effect on brand reputation tarnishing. And to me, that makes me think that since these ransomware attacks are so prevalent in the news headlines these days, makes me believe that the public is getting normalized to these types of attacks. So in turn, it's having less of an impact to the company or organization's brand. Number three, organizations are following better backup strategies, which are also required for ransomware coverage insurers, often giving them a way to restore their IT infrastructure in cases of attack, and that is good. I remember when these ransomware coverage started coming into effect, years ago, it was relatively easy to get covered or get insurance in regards to ransomware attacks. But as years progressed, these insurers took a step back and said, hey, you know what? These organizations aren't really doing their due diligence and due care in following cybersecurity best practices when it comes to being insured for these attacks. And it's costing us a lot of money in turn. Well, that's good because these insurers are forcing these companies to improve their security posture. Even if victims are handling ransomware attacks differently than 2 years ago, completely discouraging the operators by not paying the ransom or paying them is still a distant goal. As long as the percentage of paying victims is significant or hackers cash in large amounts from higher value targets, ransomware attacks will be a present threat. And that's true. I don't see ransomware going away anytime soon, or if at all. I just see the attackers coming up with another method to extort these victims to get their money in return. Anyway, what are your thoughts and opinions? Be sure to hit that comment section and give me your thoughts and opinions on the article. Information discussed. What are your thoughts on what's going to happen this year in regard to ransomware? If you enjoyed the video, the information shared, hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. Helps out the channel, helps get the good word out there. Thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a very nice day. See you later.